I'm Angela Hermantis, and we're here at the StableView Tech 17 conference. I'm joined by Colin Fisher, the president and portfolio manager at StableView Asset Management. Colin, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Your opening remarks this morning, you said an interesting case. You said blockchain is creating trust in an untrustable environment. Can you expand on that and what exactly you meant by that?
When you get into the blockchain, there's what are called public chains. Those public chains are typically in what is called an untrusted environment, i.e. you don't know who your counterparts are within the chain. And so that is one of the biggest, most important things, is they're creating trust in an untrusted environment. Additionally, there's security within an unsecure environment. So I think those are going to be two of the most fundamental changes without getting into the whole how, what, where, and when of the blockchain. I think those are going to be two of the most important. Blockchain also has some additional uses for what are called private blockchains, where they have what is called a permissioned, or where you know who the other counterparties are. Potentially they have to have a membership.
How can we incorporate blockchain in kind of daily lives?
In the days of old, in the bad old days of the dot bomb, there were companies that were a travel agency with a website, and they were, they'd have $300,000 worth of revenue and they'd be valued at $1 billion. It really wasn't realistic. A lot of stuff was just glorified brochures. So I don't actually know how much of the current blockchain will help companies do things other than maybe some of the processes will become a little bit more efficient, some will become a little less cumbersome. Make no doubt about it, the internet initially, while it wasn't a huge impact day one, it's had it's changed society, literally how we behave, how we think, how we interact. And so I think it will have that type of an impact. I think it's as seismic as the internet, but I think it's going to take a while to manifest. And a lot of the stuff that's going to be sold to people is going to be silicone snake oil. And I haven't used that term since the dot bomb, and it's coming back. And I think there's going to be a lot of more hype than there is. And I think a lot of people are going to get damaged. That's the worry I have in the blockchain space. And I think it's an incredibly powerful tool, but I don't think a lot of the companies are all that investable just yet.
So for retail investors, then, how would you best understand where the opportunities are?
One company here, which is basically an ETF, First Block Capital, which is essentially like a coin trust, a Bitcoin trust to buy Bitcoin. I think if you're really wanting to get into the Bitcoin space, understanding how to have a wallet, how to either mine it or how to trade it on some of the crypto exchanges, I think is going to be a little bit beyond most retail investors. So I think that's actually a reasonable way to play it. I think it's a safer way. I think some of the other names, and I won't pick on them, but some of them are just, the stock prices are materially ahead of where they should be. I mean, they're in nosebleed category. So I think the problem is if you don't understand what you're investing in, don't invest in it. I mean, I think that just goes without saying. And I got to say, listen, I do this as a profession. It's my day job, literally. And, I understand this technology quite well, and I still am having a hard time wrapping my melon around what the use cases are. How is this going to benefit? How is this going to be a detriment? Who is this going to disrupt? And so when you have that, you have what I would call a chaotic environment this is disruptive, but it's disruptive in a chaotic way. And I think it's going to take a while for everyone to sort of understand how it's going to play out and who are going to be the winners or who are going to be the losers.
Going forward, what's your outlook for the tech sector, but perhaps more specifically, are there areas that you think could see more potential growth than others?
So I don't look at it as a sector as a whole. I look at it typically as a company by company. So, a lot of the companies we get involved with, we think they're going to have an outsized impact on a process or an industry, or they're going to be the category leader in terms of the technology, and they're going to have a demonstrable, defendable moat around their technology. So companies that I like, for example, that have presented today that are public are, I think Symbility is an interesting company. VersaPay, that we're big investors in, they just raised a bunch of money. RBC presented with them. I think that's a very interesting company that has probably one of the biggest addressable markets, literally accounts receivable automation on the planet. It's probably one of the biggest markets. So I think VersaPay, Acuity Ads, I still think, they've got some of the foremost in machine learning algorithms for the programmatic advertising space. And I think because of that, they're going to continue to have outsized returns for their clients. And because they're going to have outsized returns for their clients, that those clients are going to continually deploy more and more money with them, which means that they're going to make more money and continue to grow. We have a lot of private companies here as well. We had some of the foremost thinkers in artificial intelligence and in blockchain. But I think the blockchain, personally, if you're a retail investor, I think it's going to end in a river of tears. There's going to be a lot of damage. I think it's an incredibly good technology, but it's got to be judiciously approached. And if you don't understand it, just don't go near it. But I think, pretty much all the publicly traded companies that have listed here today, I think are good buys. Otherwise, we don't invite them. That's the difference between this event and most other events, is we curate the event. And so we have, deep pixel, deep learning. The reason I like Symbility is that they're working with deep learning to help mine their data with artificial intelligence and provide greater insights to clients. And so I think that's going to have a material impact on their business and for their clients. So I think that will grow their business. So again, Acuity Ads versus Pay. Symbility is a good one. Pronoforms is interesting. They're starting to apply AI to some of the processes that they have. And what's interesting, you're seeing a lot of the companies actually use outsourced artificial intelligence teams in order to not have to build that all internally. Not to mention, there's a massive competitive space right now for hiring people in that space. There's just so much money going into the space. So there's a dearth of talent. So a lot of these sort of companies that are providing services, I think, is actually a very interesting way for them to grow. And I think it'll add a lot of value to some of these companies, particularly Symbility in this case.